Hello children, today in English for Standard 4, we are going to learn lesson number 13, Sultan Ghiyasuddin in the Qazi's court. Sultan Ghiyasuddin in the Qazi's court. Hundreds of years ago, in the eastern province of Bengal, Sultan Ghiyasuddin Azam Shah ruled the land. His capital was Sonargaon. Sultan Ghiyasuddin was a good ruler. He ruled wisely and well. He respected men of learning. He had a deep regard for law. Now in this paragraph we come to know that hundreds of years ago, in the eastern province means the territory of Bengal, there was a sultan whose name was Ghiyasuddin Azam Shah who ruled that land, and the capital was Sonargaon. He was a very good ruler and he ruled wisely and well. He respected men of learning. Men of learning means there were many well-educated men who had a lot of knowledge and he gave them a lot of respect. And he had a deep regard for law. Regard for law means he had care or consideration for law. We go to the next paragraph. One day while the Sultan was practicing with his bow and arrows, he accidentally wounded the only son of a poor widow. The wounded boy did not survive. Weeping and wailing, the poor widow went to the Qazi and told him what had happened. So once the Sultan was practicing with his bow and arrows and accidentally, means by mistake, he wounded the only son of a poor widow. And that boy did not survive, means he did not live. He died in that accident which took place from the Sultan's hand. And when his mother, who was a widow, she came to know, she started weeping and wailing. Wailing means crying and sobbing loudly for a long time, because she had no one else but only her son was there for her, and now he was also dead. So she went to the Qazi and told him all that had happened. We go to the next paragraph. The Qazi was an honest and upright man. He sent an officer to summon the Sultan to his court. When the officer reached the palace, the guards stopped him and inquired about his business. When they learned that he had come to serve a summons on the Sultan, they were shocked. They refused to let him go inside the palace. Upright means honest or just. So in this paragraph we come to know that the Qazi was a very honest and a just man, and he sent one of his officers to summon the Sultan to his court. Summon means to order someone to come. And the officer reached the palace, but the guards did not allow him to get inside, and they started asking him that what is it that you are come over here? They inquired about it, and when they understood that he had brought the summons means a written notice ordering someone to appear in court, and that was against the Sultan, they did not allow him to go inside the palace. We'll go to the next paragraph. The officer was now in a fix. The guards did not allow him to enter the palace. But he knew that he could not return without serving the sermons. The Qazi would not take him back. He had to find a way of reaching the Sultan somehow. What could he do? He thought and thought. Now here the officer was in a fix. In a fix means in a difficulty or in an awkward situation. That how will he enter the palace? And the guards are not allowing him to enter. And without entering and giving the sermons to the Sultan and returning back that way, the Qazi would not take him back in the court. So he started thinking that how to go and reach to the Sultan. So he was thinking and thinking. We go to the next paragraph. At last, he began to sound the azan, the call for the prayer, loudly, just outside the palace. It was not yet time for the prayer. When the Sultan heard the loud, untimely call, he was greatly surprised. He ordered that the man giving the call should be brought before him immediately. His soldiers rushed out of the palace gates, caught the officer and took him to the Sultan within moments. So, the officer thought of an idea that how can he enter the palace. So, it was not still time for the azan. Azan means a call for the prayer. And before that only, he started saying the prayers very loudly outside the palace. The Sultan heard this and he was very angry, and he told his soldiers to bring that officer in the palace immediately. We go to the next paragraph. When the officer knelt before the Sultan, he was trembling with fear, but he mustered all his courage and explained why he had given the call for azan. Then with shaking hands, he gave the sermons to the Sultan. Sultan Ghiyasuddin took it without making any comment. He reads the sermons and told the officer to go back to the Qazi. He announced that he would appear in the Qazi's court the next day. Knelt means get down on one's knees or bow down. So this officer bowed down before the Sultan, and he was trembling with fear, means he was shaking with fear. He had a lot of fear filled in him, and he handed over the sermons to him. Mustered means gathered. He gathered all the courage and he explained that why he had given the call for azan before the time. And then he handed over the sermons to the Sultan, and the Sultan, without making any comments, he just read the sermons and he accepted that he would come to the Qazi's court the next day, and he told him to leave. We go to the next paragraph. The next morning, the Sultan got ready to appear before the Qazi. He hid a sharp sword in his robe and set out. The courtroom was packed with people. Everyone was eager to see what would happen. The Qazi entered and took his place on the high seat of honor. In a little while, Sultan Ghiyasuddin entered the courtroom. Everyone stood up to show respect to the Sultan, but the Qazi did not get up. The Sultan stood in the docks and the trial began. Docks means an enclosed space in a court of law for the accused person, as you can see in the picture. So here in this paragraph we understand that the next morning the Sultan decided to go to the Qazi's court, but he hid a sharp sword in his robe, and then he went to the Qazi's court. There were many people who had come to the courtroom and they were very eager to see as to what would happen. And in honor, everyone stood up when the Sultan Ghiyasuddin entered the courtroom, but Qazi did not stand up. And then the Sultan was told to stand in the docks and the trial began. The widow presented her complaint. The Qazi took note of all the evidence and in a grave voice addressed the Sultan. Evidence means the information given in court to prove something. And in grave voice means in a serious voice. The Qazi started asking questions to the Sultan. We go to the next paragraph. You are guilty of causing the death of the only son of this poor widow. According to the law, you must pay a fine for this offense. I order you to do that without delay. Offense means crime, a wrong deed. The Sultan accepted the judgment and apologized to the widow. He arranged to pay the fine immediately. The widow felt satisfied that the offense was brought home to the offender. Offender means a person who has done something wrong or illegal. So here the Sultan accepted his mistake, that by mistake accidentally he had killed the poor widow's son. And the Qazi told him that you have to pay the fine to the lady, to the widow, at the earliest. And the Sultan also apologized to the widow and he paid the fine immediately. Now the widow was feeling satisfied that her son couldn't come back, but at least the fine what she had got, with that she would live. We go to the next paragraph. When the case was over, the Qazi got up from his high seat of honor. Respectfully he bowed to the Sultan and requested him to take his seat. So now when the case was over, the Qazi got up from his high seat of honor and respectfully he bowed before the Sultan, and then he told him that you can take this seat and you can sit over here. We go to the next paragraph. The Sultan then drew the hidden sword from his robes and told the Qazi, I am happy that you did not waver in your duty. You did not hesitate to punish me. Otherwise, I would have beheaded you with this sword. Waver means falter, hesitate, or become unsure. So in this paragraph, we understand that the Sultan was happy that the Qazi had taken a right decision of giving a right judgment for the crime what he had done, and he had hidden a sword in his robes, and he told the Qazi if he wouldn't have given him the proper justice was not given, then he would have beheaded him with the sword. The Qazi then put his hand under the cushion where the Sultan was seated and brought out a whip. He said, Your Majesty, I am happy because you obeyed the law. Otherwise, I would have whipped you in this court. Whip means a strip of leather used for beating a person. So the Qazi had also hid a whip under the cushion where he was seated. And he said that if the Sultan wouldn't have accepted his mistake and wouldn't be ready to give the fine, and disobeyed the law, he would have whipped the Sultan in the court in front of everyone. We go to the next paragraph. The Sultan then got up and embraced the Qazi. "Thank God, we both did our duty," he said. Everyone present in the courtroom praised the two great men. So, the Sultan, in this paragraph, we understand that the Sultan got up and he embraced, means he hugged the Qazi, and he thanked God that both had done their duty very well, and because of that the poor widow had got justice. And everyone in the courtroom who were present over there, they started praising the Sultan as well as the Qazi for the great work what they had done. From this story we understand that whether we are big or small, we should be ready to accept our mistake, and whatever duties are allotted to us, we should be able to fulfill it. I hope you all have understood the story and enjoyed watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe my channel, like and share. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. Bye bye.